You can fly on this airline and visit a museum at the same time. Everything looks so outdated. It's like travel past time. It looks completely different to all the other airlines I've flown on. This is the world's one-star airline, Air Koryo. But are they really terrible? So I visited North Korea several times on organized aviation tours by Jushay Travel. Why going to North Korea though? I think for most AF geeks the answer is pretty straight simple. To fly on the vintage Soviet fleet of Air Koryo. Think about the opportunity to fly on all of these airplanes that is almost extinct, not even available in Russia, but they're all flying in North Korea. So the only way to enter North Korea is from China or Russia, by plane or by train. The first time I flew to North Korea was from Beijing on board Air Koryo Illusion 62. So the airline doesn't sell tickets online. You have to join an organized tour in order to get your air tickets. And also your visa to North Korea looks like a blue piece of tourist card that they don't stamp on your passport. So I still remember that day I went on board and went all the way to the back, sat on the very last row window and next to two North Korean gentlemen on board. And when the engine started, after pushback, it was like music to the ear. It was so screaming loud. So the flight was about 1.5 hours long, and we flew northeasterly out of China towards North Korea. When we passed the Yalu River, there was an announcement made on board. We are now in North Korea. So what to expect on the one-star airline? Actually, we're all served a free meal and drinks on this 1.5 hour international flight. The flight attendant were in their old uniform, in the red color. They were running up and down the aisle to serve on this short flight, and they're very efficient and polite, but they are not very happy with people taking pictures around. And then here comes the landing. It was one of the screaming, the loudest noise I ever heard from an engine. I was told Pyongyang Airport doesn't actually have an ILS, so all our landing were visual approach. And after the landing, I went up to the cockpit. They were kind enough to open the door to let me see the massive green colored cockpit of the Illusion 62, which requires a team of 5 technicians to fly the airplane. 2 pilots, 1 engineer, 1 radio controller, and 1 navigator. So after landing, we were taken to the old passenger terminal, Pyongyang. It's an old building and it was completely dark. They just switch on the lights when passengers start to arrive. The biggest plane ever landed at Pyongyang, I believe, was a 747-400 from South Korea by Asiana Airlines in 2008, carrying the New York Philharmonic Band to perform in North Korea. So after passing the immigration and the custom, I remember at that trip, we all have to surrender our mobile phones. You will get them again on the day when you depart from North Korea. So after our arrivals, we met with 2 young ladies. They're our tour guides from Korea International Travel Company, which is a government department that handles most visitors. Our tour guides are actually very fluent in English and they're very knowledgeable about their country. I have to say they are probably elite among the North Korean to be able to meet foreigners representing their countries. They're very well educated. At the same time, they serve as a reminder, observing you during your whole stay in North Korea. So by joining an aviation tour means we get to fly around the country and see way more. So during the pandemic, Air Koryo, the national airline in North Korea, did not fly outside North Korea for almost 3 years, as the country was completely closed. Only until late 23, they started resuming flight to Beijing and later to Shenyang and Vladivostok in Russia. There's only 3 active airplanes currently flying. 2 of them are the Tupolev 204 and 1 Ukrainian-made Antonov 148 are currently active. No one have any news about whether the Soviet Illusion 62 or the Tupolev 154 or 134 or the Antonov 24 or U-18, these planes are still currently flying. I would imagine they would need to keep them active. Inside the country, they would just routinely fly for a few hours, keeping the plane going. So in 2014, the second time I traveled to North Korea, again was from Beijing. But this time, I was on board a Tupolev 204, a modern Russian-made twin-engine jet, instead of the Soviet Illusion 62, which was actually banned from going to China due to the noise abatement issue. So there's a couple interesting observations on this flight. The flight attendant has changed uniform into a dark uniform, a new uniform. So this time in business class, you get a sandwich and a beer. But in economy, all you get is a burger with a mysterious piece of meat in the middle of the sandwich wrapped by paper. Flight attendant again were very smiley and they tell you no photos, but really nobody obliged. It's such a rare country and rare airline. Everybody was taking as much as they could on the flight. And after landing, I got to see the modern Tupolev 204 cockpit. Here it is. On this trip, we were also able to try out a brand new airplane. So the rest of the Air Koryo fleets, like the Illusion 76, Tupolev 134, Tupolev 154, and the Anton 24 are all equally enjoyable. We flew on all of these types during every aviation tour, but there's no news whether they are currently active. I won't be surprised Air Koryo is trying their best to maintain them and fly them from time to time domestically, just keeping the airframe airworthy. Who knows? So here's the question, can you walk alone and explore North Korea at your own pace? And the answer is no. You must be accompanied by not only 1, but 2 tour guides at all times. So since the tour guides accompanying us everywhere and observing us, are they scary? No, they're actually very fun to be with. They're extremely intelligent and very skillful at singing and playing instruments, especially at the karaoke's.
My heart will go on and on.
Now let's talk about a little bit about the tour I went on inside North Korea. Of course, it's a heavily controlled tour. We're on a fixed itinerary. And we're taken to a lot of spots that is celebrating the country, and we must bow in front of the dear leader's statue. Those who do not respect the country and the leaders will be taken note by the minders. The only place you get to meet a lot of North Korean folks is inside the Pyongyang Metro, which is deep under the ground and pretty grand. And they were using all these East German decommissioned metro cars running around 30 years later inside Pyongyang. Now let's talk about one of the most important things, which is food. I would say the food is simple and maybe pretty bad in the countryside. You might have to watch out from food poisoning of overeating the seafood in North Korea. We have quite a few people got really sick. So now let's talk about the hotel. Where did we stay in North Korea? Our tour actually stayed in the Twin Towers of Koryo Hotel, which is considered a 4-star local hotel. And here are what the rooms look like. There are actually a very few hotels receiving foreign tourists. So the most memorable trip for me to North Korea happened in 2016. We attended the first international air show from North Korea, the Wonsan Air Show. It felt like turning 50 years back in time there.
During the festival, you will have lots of fun, including sightseeing flying over Wonsan by different planes of choice. I hope all the festival makers from home and abroad will have a great and memorable time during the stay here.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
It also combined military. It is very rare to see the North Korean Air Force in action, at least showing to the Western world. Right after the Air Koryo Illusion 18, there's the Korean People's Army Air Force MiG-29 in action.
And indeed it really was like an air show in any other country. The whine of jet engines, the thump of distant pop music, flags flapping and the smell of cooked meat on the breeze. The pace of the display was impressive, with one aircraft displaying while the next sat at the holding point ready for takeoff, and the one after that starting engines in the parking area. We asked the organisers how they did such a slick job on their first ever airshow, and they said they watched videos and DVDs of Riyadh, Farnborough and other famous events abroad. They did a fantastic job.
The crowd are so excited every time when there's a helicopter flying over past them or whatever, and with all the music going on and cheering, it could be anywhere. But we have to remind ourselves, we are in North Korea. The afternoon was kicked off by another smashing hit, the MiG-21. A pair of female pilots were piloting the MiG-21. And this was followed by the low flight pass of a 4-engine Illusion 62. And then there are Mu-17 helicopter, Illusion 76, and N-24. And when they pass by, you smell the jet fuel in the air. It smells great. It is raw aviation, mega fun.
The airshow was also an insight into North Korean life, as tourists had never really been allowed to mix with locals before. But we were free to roam in the crowd of 20,000 North Koreans. I was impressed by the pavilions selling souvenirs, clothing, soft furnishing, toys, showing a degree of commerce and private enterprise not usually apparent.
And this is a great opportunity, and the only time we are actually allowed to mingle freely with the North Koreans there at the air show. To end today's video, I have to say I'm very grateful for my aviation hobby that allows me to go to far-flung places like North Korea. The North Koreans are very poor and live in challenging conditions. But just looking at the way they maintain these vintage airplanes kept them airworthy for so many years. They're extremely resilient people. I wish them and the airline Air Koryo the very best for many more years to come. Thanks for watching today.